Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Challenge yourself to change lives with the Big Belt Buckle Challenge. They make a no-strings-attached charitable donation when participants complete one or all of the 6 athletic challenges. In doing so, they aim to build a worldwide community that transcends sport and encourages people to make a positive lifestyle change while helping those in need. For 2023, a difficult but doable set of challenges has been created by Jeff Privete himself. They have all been inspired by his personal experiences throughout 2022. The events can be done in any order, and with the exception of the Road Gravel Challenge, there is no time limit for completion of a given event. All you have to do is make it through. Completing all 6 will require an incredible amount of dedication, courage, and a willingness to embrace the journey, regardless of the outcome. Won't you join Jeff at thebigbeltbucklechallenge.org? This is the Big Belt Buckle Challenge.
Oh,
hey, Jim.
What's happening, dude?
How you doing?
Good.
I got to tell you, dude. So I had a podcast scheduled for 11, and I think we had a miscommunication. So I was sitting here with the Zoom link open. I thought, well, Jim wanted to call me about some beer project he's doing. Let's just talk now. How you doing?
Good.
What are you doing?
If you're recording, I mean, you want me to put my headset and all that on and get my mixing board, or are we just shooting the shit to his buddies?
I'm already recording, so you can leave it just as it is, as a couple buddies. Okay. Listen, for those that are listening to this show, Jim taught me how to podcast. Jim produced my show originally, did a fantastic job. Jim, we're almost at 100,000 subscribers and over 400 shows.
Wow.
Crazy, huh?
That's awesome, man. That's rad. That's rad. Well, you and I used to do some podcasting at parties and stuff like that together. And yeah, I mean, we go way back, dude. I mean,
don't just say parties. It sounds like we were ravers. They were actually General Tire events for racing, for the racing circuit.
Yeah, no, it was, we had a good time, dude. We had a good time. I want to get you back in the desert at some point. I miss having my buddy out here.
I appreciate that. I know everybody's having fun, but I'm up here in God's country, Montana, learning. We're branding tonight some cows, so I got to go do that. And life is a little different, you know.
Got it. I need to make a trip up there. Shit, got you and got my buddy Tim Montana up there, and it's like I just feel like I need to come and spend a couple of weeks in Montana at this point.
Well, I'm sure we'd both love to have you. So anyways, look, it was good to hear from you the other day. You got a beer project going and your show is transitioning. Tell me about both, because I'm curious about both.
Man, I guess catching up with everything I'm doing. I mean, I'm still racing, doing some stuff, doing a lot of consulting work. As you and I have talked about, it's nice having the mailbox money.
Yeah.
So doing a lot of consulting work now. The show, I was in national syndication. I did things kind of backwards. It was podcast, and then we went into national radio. It was on Sirius XM, U.S. American Forces Network, 200 AM FM networks. And I just felt like I was getting choked off, like, because you got to do a 10-minute segment, take a 3-minute break, and this and that. I wasn't happy. I was burnt out, did a decade of radio, and I was just kind of done. I was ready to just hang it up. And I was like, why? And I had to look in the mirror and go, why are you not happy doing this? Because you used to love doing this.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's because of the format. I was like, you and I'd have a conversation, then it's got to be cut off. And so I was like, what's going to make, and video obviously started coming into play and things like that. There was, video and podcasts are synonymous now. You got to have both. And I went, you know what? It's time to reboot everything. Obviously Polaris and I had a good run of 8 years, and it switched over to Kawasaki. So we changed the branding of the show. And I was like, I don't necessarily want to I don't necessarily want to talk just to off-road racers. I love off-road racers or motorsports people. I was like, I just want to talk to people who I want to talk to and
Yeah.
just have genuine human conversations. And so kind of rebooted the show, dropped out of national syndication. Most people are like, you're crazy for leaving Sirius XM and things like that. And I was like, called my buddy Jason Ellis. He did it, loved it. I've talked to Adam Carolla. Adam Carolla said it was the greatest thing I ever did. And I was like, maybe there's something to this. And I dropped out. And here we are, like 3 or 4 months later. YouTube numbers are banger. Podcast numbers are up. Things are great. I'm happy, just talking with people again. And I don't have to worry about all these hard breaks and hard segments and things like that. So, I've talked to people and I'm like, at some point, like if you're unhappy doing what you're doing, you got to make a change because you can't go through life miserable, whether it's in a relationship or your job or anything else. I'm like, you're always one decision away from changing your life. And I've always, I've always told people that if you're miserable, make a change. You're one decision away. And so, I did that and things are great, and the beer is actually met the owner of Belching Beaver Brewery there in Oceanside, who they've actually grown pretty big. And he had known of the show, known of me, and we ran into each other at the California 300 last year.
Mm-hmm.
And he was out. They had brought some beer out, and they were kind of the official beer of the event or something. And he goes, "I want to do a signature beer with you." So we started talking, and he goes, "Your last name in our company just makes sense," So so we started talking. A week later, I'm there in Oceanside. What do you want out of your beer? Started saying all this. Come back 2 weeks later, and they had a sample, and let's tweak this, tweak that, and so. Here we are like 6-8 months later, and I've got a beer that's going to be in, start out in a small group of stores, some bars, stuff like that. And it's going to be fun. Yeah. I've got, actually got conveniently one of the cans right here, but
I love it. Yeah,
so,
hopefully you can get some of that stuff out there in Parker, Arizona. I think a few people.
Yeah, John Burns. I know John at the Herp stores. All the Herp stores in Havasu Park are going to carry it. We've got some bars up and down the river. And, we made first run smaller. We're going to see how it does, but I think we'll sell through it and then be kind of continue to go. I know they've done really well with having kind of signature beers. I know the Deftones, their Fan and Bride IPA is it's probably one of the biggest IPAs in the country, and that's through Belching Beaver. So, they did really good with the Deftones one. And, the owner of the company is an off-road guy. He loves going out in his UTVs and camping and stuff like that. So it's a good fit. It's fun. It's very, very much a family type deal. So, things are definitely good. Just kind of bouncing around, doing a lot of lifestyle stuff this year. I'm going to be at the Whiskey A Go-Go this weekend, emceeing at the Whiskey A Go-Go in Hollywood. So
that's random.
Yeah.
What's going on over there?
A buddy of mine, I don't know if have you ever met BC Vaught?
No, haven't.
Okay, so BC was the original drummer of Head PE back in the 2000s, and they were a huge band in the 2000s. Anyways, Head PE's back together under a different name, and it's just a bunch of guys kind of jamming together and stuff like that. And I've always loved the whiskey just because of the history, the music history there, and Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses and Kiss and the Doors, and so it's just cool to be on stage at the Whiskey. He told me, it's 5 or 6 bands. And he goes, when they came back to the Whiskey, he goes, it's been 20 years since I played. I want you to be the MC on stage for us tonight. This is back awesome. In January. They packed the house big enough that the Whiskey invited them all back again. And BC goes, well, if we're doing this, we want you again. So it's one of those where it's just fun to actually say I'm on the same stage that Motley Crue and Kiss and all these other bands have been on,
It's cool. I've had some of those moments in my life too, where you're on stage and you're looking around going, holy shit, how did I get here?
Exactly.
Well, first of all, you said yes, that got you there. But, Jim, I think something about you is you've always positioned yourself to be in a place of readiness and willingness to kind of do what's asked of you if it fits, what you're into. And you've had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, and that's it, and you and I have had this, and I honestly tell people this, and when you and I had talked about what you were going to call your podcast, things like that, I go, it's funny because I've lived my life the same way you have. I never say no. Well, I mean, there's times I've said no.
Yeah, there's times you got to say no.
Yeah, there's times you've got to say no, but if it's something doable, I generally say yes, and it's like, okay, how do we do this? We'll figure it out. But yes, and I think that's opened a lot of doors, and I don't mind putting myself in a position where I might not be good at something right away, because I like the challenge of doing better and learning, and it's like, here I am in my 40s now, and I've retaught myself to snowboard. I've started riding dirt bikes again. I retaught myself how to ride stand-up jet skis. It's like most people, they get 40, oh, I'm old. And I'm like, here I am, like literally doing stuff I haven't done in 20 years just because it's like, why not,
Dude, I haven't heard somebody say that for so long, but what a clever way to approach life is you're reteaching yourself to do things that you enjoyed before. And you're right, man. Some people would just hang it up and be like, I'm done doing that, like skiing or snowboarding. Oh, I don't do that anymore. So I just sit at the bar now. You're out there in your 40s, shredding down the hill, reteaching yourself how to snowboard and have fun. You might hit the bar later, but why give it up when you still got it?
Yeah. And that's it. Like, it's just, I think we've all enjoyed certain things throughout life, and for whatever reason you stop doing them. And I'm lucky I've got a 14-year-old daughter, and her and I just go and do everything together. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's kind of cool. She's learning to do stuff for the first time, and I'm relearning to do it, but it's like, I've started playing video games again, and not really like, I'm not like a gamer or anything, but it's like, my daughter loves playing video games. So it's like, here I am in the evenings playing video games with her. So it's been a connection with us, but it's like, I enjoy playing some video games here and there. Most of it's Mario Kart and things like that. But it's like, stuff where it's like, I don't know. I think a lot of people hang stuff up because they feel like, oh, I'm too old for it or whatever. The optics. Oh, somebody shouldn't be doing that. And I'm like, why not? If you enjoy it, do it.
It's cool what you just talked about. You're not really a video game guy, but yet your daughter likes it. I was with Sean Whalen once, and he was giving advice to a dad, and the dad's like, oh, all my kid does is play video games. He's like, well, why don't you learn how to play the video game and spend some time with your kid playing? Because a lot of those video games are interactive, and don't be obsessive about it. But hey, son, let's play video games for 30 minutes together, and be in tune with what they're doing. Yeah. Yesterday, it's summertime here in Montana, but it still gets cold at night. Yesterday, I was with the girls like, oh, Dad, let's jump in the pool. Well, that pool is freaking cold, right? But I was like, you know what? If they're doing it, I can do it. So we're in and out of the pool, having fun. It's not something I really wanted to do, but it gave me the opportunity to spend time with my kids. So I love, you getting out of your comfort zone and playing some video games with your daughter, because that's what she likes to do. We miss that.
Yeah. And I think, her and I, we go skateboarding. I still go to the skate park regularly. She likes riding BMX bikes and skateboarding and stuff. So it's like, I used to ride, I actually rode in contests and stuff when I was in my early 20s, and got away from it because of racing and other things. But it's like, I've started going back to skate park, and here I am, 40-some-year-old guy with a bunch of teenage kids, and like all the other kids think it's rad. Oh, your dad skateboards with you, it's like, and I think all the other kids are like, well, I wish my dad would do that, and it's like, I don't understand, because a lot of their dads I knew, and we used to all skateboard together when we were younger. Why aren't the dads there? It's like, to me, it's like, I love that time with her, and I think a lot of people miss out on that. It's like, connect with your kids, because it matters to them, Even if it's something you don't want to do, if you can still do it and it connects with them, like, that 20, 30 minutes you spend with them, that means the world to them, they're going to remember that when they're older.
Well, even if you don't drop into the bowl or, in the deep end of the pool when you're skateboarding, you could skateboard around the perimeter, and your kid's still going to go home and go, Dad skateboarded with me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times parents just miss that. Like, oh, well, if you attend and you try, or you participate to whatever level you can, your kid's going to remember that, as opposed to just saying flat out, no, go ahead and go have a good time by yourself, So pretty cool, Jim. You're doing some awesome stuff. I love also how you stepped away from, big brand radio, and because that's hard to do. Like you said, people thought you were crazy for stepping away from Sirius Satellite, but you consulted with some very good individuals, Jason Ellis, guys have been doing this a long time, and they encourage you to do it. But even so, those are tough moves. And looking back on that, I mean, I'm guessing that you're good with it and you can see the future.
Yeah. Oh, I'm good with it. I also, I've got a lot of financial backers in what I do radio wise, so it's like, I consulted with them also, like, hey, I'm thinking about going down this path. What are their thoughts? And they go, yes. One, it was yes, two, but we support you. You're not going to make a bad decision for yourself. If this is where you want to be, then let's go be there. But it is interesting, just for anybody that consumes media, talking with a lot of the brands, because they track, and I'm talking Fortune 500 companies, they track media exposure, things like that. It's funny because a lot of them now aren't tracking, traditional media like radio. national TV, things like that, they're not tracking that. They go, yeah, we don't really track it anymore. It's kind of an added bonus, but we don't really even put a lot of money to it. They're like, we just supported you because we were there, but we don't really care about it. They're like, we care about YouTube numbers.
Yeah.
We care about podcast numbers. They're like, we care about the digital mediums because we can track it and we know where the people go. And it's just interesting because 5 years ago, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right.
It was like TV, if you're not on TV, you're not here. And it's like anybody that consumes content now, like, or produces content or is a creator, it's actually awesome because it's made it a level playing field. If you've got a podcast or a YouTube channel, you're just as powerful as somebody that's got a national television show now. And I think that's actually the first time ever where content can, be created and consumed by people and it's not dictated by a larger power, and I think it's really awesome that it's put the power back in our hands to be able to create and curate content, that people enjoy.
And by the way, you're doing exactly what you want to do, not what they want you to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so cool. I had some, I was on the grind with this podcast show for the first year, hoping to get the next guest. And I was on the search. And then I started picking up some publicists that were sending guests my way. David Meltzer's been awesome about sending people my way. And for 3 years plus, I was getting all these wonderful guests. But I realized about 6 months ago, like, I'm picking them because they're coming to me, but it's not who I want to be interviewing, like per se, like my personality that I have an interest in. So in the last couple of months, I've been going after people that I want to interview, and I've had a lot more fun. Maybe it's just a recharge, but I've been having so much fun interviewing people that I want to talk to. And they've been awesome. Like, I reach out on Instagram or, whatever channels, like, hey, do you want to be on the show? They're like, yeah, I thought you'd never ask, so it's been pretty cool. And I can see you being able to do the same thing now.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of people like, and people go, how do you get these guests? And I go, honestly, I just ask.
Yeah.
And I'm like, most people, and you get to a certain level where, I'd love to interview The Rock, but that's probably not happening anytime soon, but it's like, most people, like, if you reach out, they're very receptive, especially if you've got a show that's got a good reputation, and you've never, they go and listen and it's not something just crazy, but I just ask, and a lot of these guests that I've got is somebody I've followed on YouTube for a long time, or I've listened to their podcasts, or I've been aware of what they're doing in their career. And I'm like, man, I reach out, or, and most people have their email link in their whatever in their profile, or you DM them. And I've got some amazing guests that way and become friends with a lot of people that probably never would have thought I would have, because our paths wouldn't have crossed. But it's like, you just have to ask. And I tell people that. I'm like, there's power in words, just ask. A lot of times it's just going to be yes.
For sure. I interviewed Greg Dawson last week. He's out of Canada. He's a professional bodybuilder. He just took third in his first professional debut. And I'd asked him, and he's like, Jim, I'm so honored to be on your show. Thank you for asking me. Well, when I got him on the show, he's like, I've never done a podcast before. My assumption was, this guy's at this top level of success in the bodybuilding world. Like, I figured, he does this all the time. I'm grateful that he said yes. And here I am giving him in return his first opportunity. So to your point, just ask. You'd be shocked at how many people would say yes to being on your show. If you're listening to this and you have a show, don't be afraid to reach out.
Yeah, exactly. And I honestly, I don't think I've ever turned down a podcast that's wanted me to be a guest, and I've done some very, very small shows in like their second or third episode. And it's like, I've always, just as a creator myself and as a brander and things like that, I'm like, hey, if they've got 10 listeners and 7 of them don't know who I am, that's 7 more people who now know who I am.
I haven't turned one down either, and I love doing it. And it gives you another chance to tell your story. And like you said, if they got 10 listeners and 7 don't know me, that's 7 more I didn't have. So Pretty cool. Hey, look, I appreciate you. I just texted you. I was sitting here with this open Zoom call. I'm like, I'm going to text my buddy Jim and see what he's doing. Look, dude, if you need any, I'm going to put it out there public. If you need any help with that beer, let me know. I'm happy to throw some advice your way. I know, I've been in this business 30 years.
Yeah, that's why I text you. I'm like, I'm gonna definitely need, and I'm actually lucky that, it's a reputable company. They've been around for over a decade and they've moved a lot of product. But it's like, yeah, I definitely could use your help on the branding and marketing side. And I definitely want to get you back on my show sometime soon to catch up and talk about everything you've been doing. Because I think our last interview to this next interview that we're going to have, your life has completely changed. And I think it's going to be fun to catch up.
Well, I'll save it for the show, but I'll give you the highlights. I'm running a campaign for the next governor of Montana. and I'm running a ranch that boards over 50 horses and sells guns and all the kinds of other stuff. So I got a lot of cool stuff going on. I'd love to talk about it on your show. Jim, where's this beer going to launch? Give us the name one more time.
Well, the beer is Jim Beaver's Misadventure IPA. It's a very light IPA, very, very light IPA.
Perfect. I can drink a bunch of it.
Yeah, so I tell people, Coors Light was an IPA. That's what this is. But Belching Beaver Brewery, they distribute the Deftones beer, Phantom Bride, that's pretty much in stores nationwide at this point. But it'll start trickling into stores here, I believe right after the 1st of July. But if you go to Belching Beaver's website, it'll tell you a list of, all the distributors and all the places you can buy it. But generally, most, especially in the Western U.S., most every state, you're going to be able to pick it up. So.
Okay. And then your show, where can they find your show at?
JimBeaver15.com is my website. All the info's there. At JimBeaver15 on social media. We create our YouTube channel. We've got over 1,000 new subscribers in the last 30 days. So it's really been starting to fire off. So definitely give us a follow on YouTube, and I'm active on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at JimBeaver15. So,
dude, I want to be on your show. Hey, thanks for being spontaneous and just picking up the phone, dude. Appreciate it.
That's what's left. Don't even have my hat on, nothing. I'm like, oh, Jim's calling. We're accepting. So,
that's how buddies roll, even if we haven't talked to each other for a while. So cool, man. Hey, if you're listening, thanks for tuning in. Please share the show. Please go follow Jim, listen to his stuff, and go buy some beer. Thank you for listening to today's show. It is my pleasure and honor to interview all of the guests that have been on the Answer is Yes podcast. If you have enjoyed the show, please go on iTunes and subscribe, give a rating, or simply tell a friend about the show. We also believe in the message of our guests and the positive influence of their stories. As my own mentor and coach, David Meltzer, has taught me, spend some time every day thinking and writing about the things in your own life that you have more than enough of. You will find out how blessed we really are. Please visit my website, livelifedriven.com, for the latest updates about me and what I'm doing. Plus, I post a monthly blog about the many topics on this show. This podcast can also be found there. As I learned early on in life, what you believe is what you will achieve. Thanks, Mark Victor Hansen, and thank you, and have a great week.